Well, last time we were up here, we were making supercharger play there.
That's true.
Couldn't talk that day either.
Apparently, every time I sit in the seat now, I cannot talk.
Rough.
Getting rusty on them once a monthers.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, everyone, for joining us to our now once a month ZZP Power Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Number 170 today.
True.
And we're talking about making your daily driver something a little bit better.
It's literally what we do.
That's what we do. So this isn't going to be any different than normal. But
Sometimes
maybe
we make them worse.
sometimes we make them
But
worse.
it's
Marginally
usually
worse.
towards better.
But it's almost always better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we don't actually work on sports cars.
No,
No,
we don't.
No.
We
Like the
work
close-
on normal people's daily
And I
drivers.
would like to say we make them better to the best of our abilities all the
Yeah.
time. Like literally this morning, Tim and I are telling a guy, you don't need a stage 1 cam. You do not need a stage 1
Like,
cam
unless
in your
you're
modding
chasing
process.
power in a 1.4,
Yeah.
you don't need one.
Yeah. But we'll try and focus more on a daily actually being a daily and you having, say, a project car on the side.
Yeah.
That's
So
ideal.
So let's go over some things. I guess this resonates with me because Erica just got herself a brand new, to her, Buick Encore,
Yeah.
and I could ruin it.
Oh,
I could ruin it so fast.
100%.
But it's a nice car, and she really likes it. But we need to do some things.
Yeah. It's nice when you have limitations in place because it's the wife's wagon or, whatever else, because it helps you really focus in on what it needs, not what you want.
And I also love having a daily driver mod car as well as like your race car, because like Randy, for example, his Encore, he has not ruined his Encore yet either.
That thing's great.
Yeah.
He's done all the tasteful mods that you would do to a 1.4 turbo Encore.
I don't know if you would call it all tasteful.
Some of it. Some of it's a lot. Like I put a sticker on it. I know Tyler's a big fan of stickers, but that's not a thing
guy.
for me. But I mean,
have you seen his blue cobalt? There's stickers all over it.
The whole hood is a sticker.
You can't.
That was the joke. No, like with the Encore, like I just did all the little stuff that makes it fun to drive. Nobody wants to drive a boring car, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my wife gets a little bit angry at me all the time when I'm like, when I drive her new tracks, I'm like, it's like driving the color beige. It's just if you're gonna drive from a place to another place, why not have fun in the middle?
Make it a little better.
Or
make
you're
it
like
yours.
me, you spend 2 hours in it a day.
Yeah.
That's a lot of your day. That's a lot of your week. That's a lot of your
Yeah.
life. You might as well like it and enjoy
And
it.
like the car doesn't pass the test unless you give it the look back.
Mhm.
The look back, like you get out of the car, you shut it off, you get out of the car, you walk away, and you like kind of turn around, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Yep."
That's
And if
You
it's
gotta
completely
get that.
stock, you're probably never
No.
gonna do that.
Yeah.
No.
Because like you do your little mods in your garage on the weekend, and you drive it for the first time to work, and you look back and you're like, "Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
good. I like
Yep.
that." So down our first path, we'll go for power mods. Now, like Mr. Matt Meekoff said, having a reliable 9-second Cobalt that gets good fuel economy is not ideal. It's not going to happen.
It's not gonna happen.
It's just not going to happen. So we're talking mods that actually give you power increases and mods that help along that way, that aren't going to ruin the drivability and the daily ability of your car. And I think for everyone, for all of our platforms here, it's got to be a PCM tune first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A tune, so from your stock file to a 1.0, it's a different freaking car. You can have a 100% stock 1.4 or 3800 or or 3.6 car, just a 1.0.
Yeah. Well,
What bothers? Go ahead.
It's going to fix a lot of the things that you deal with daily. Like in a 3800, it's going to fix all the shift points, all the torque converter stuff, all the stuff that's going to make your drive to work literally better. Even if you're not flooring the car, stuff under 50% throttle that's going to be significantly improved and noticed on your commute to work.
Yeah.
Like what I don't understand is like a 1.0 tune fixes the things that GM screwed up with from the factory. And the thing is, it's not even stuff like we did this to maintain the best gas mileage, because like Mike, I did a trans tune on Mike's F-150 and he's like, yeah, my gas mileage is the same, but like I enjoy driving it more.
Yeah.
In our 1.0 files all have that in them, and nobody says that like I put your 1.0 and I lost gas mileage. Like that just doesn't happen
unless you're in the throttle more.
Yeah,
because
unless
it
you're in the
feels
throttle
good.
more.
Mhm.
But like, it fixes all those stupid things. Like with the 3800, you turn a corner and you're at, I don't know, 20 miles an hour, and you give it throttle. A Grand Prix will be in third gear at 20 miles an hour, so it's bogging around. Well, with our 1.0 file, it's in second gear, automatically downshifts at light throttle, and it like accelerates easy out of the corner.
Well, Tim's done a really good job. He's taken great pride in all the platform cars over the year, and experienced many of them. And like the LTG Regal I drove home the other day, I pulled out of the parking lot. We're shaking down a customer car, new Ford's engine, big wheel turbo, all the bolt-ons we have. Tim's had a LTG Regal all winter to develop a transmission file for. I pull out and I hit the first stoplight, and I'm like I gotta text Tim, like, this thing is awesome. Like, it pulls through the gears so well in traffic, and you're just like navigating, like, oh, I need to get around this car, this car, and it's always in the right gear. That's because Tim's taking the time to literally own the car and build a transmission file, and then share it with you guys.
And that's really what separates us as a company from others. We drive these things every day.
every day across the country.
Yeah, like, we know everything there is to know for the most part about the car.
You guys get to benefit from our addiction.
Your addiction is our addiction. It just started here first. But yeah, there's nothing worse than pulling out onto a divided highway or whatever, and you're half pedal, and it's just like...
Yeah, and I mean, like, the first winter we had the Z04 out, I think Tim and I worked on Yeti and the Blue Turds tune, you know, cam timing a lot, wastegate duty cycle stuff on the highway, shift points on the highway. You know, I was driving hundreds of miles a day, scanning the car just daily for Tim. And we're just brainstorming in the morning. You know, we're drinking coffee. We're like, it kind of did this and that. Like, let's try this. And, you know, I think we got all of our Auto Z04 cars driving really well now.
Yeah,
because
the
they used, you know, initially we had a little bit larger turbo, and we would just get into these weird situations that, you know, we just had to iron out, and we did. And, you know, that's across the board for V's and everything, you know.
I think second on the list for power mods, and it might not always be purely for the power, but would be a cold air intake.
Yes.
Man. Yeah, like, I love it because I hate when I hit, you know, the accelerator pedal and I don't know what's happening. Like, you see the revs change and you're like,
but what's going on?
What's actually happening? It just gives you a little more feedback. It just feels a lot better.
And like, I would definitely argue, in a daily car, I would 100% put a cold air intake on. I'm not always going to put a cat back on.
Yeah.
And in what you're talking about, like, knowing what the car is doing, if you've got a stock exhaust on it and a stock intake, there's nothing there. It's boring.
No user feedback.
Intake is good mod on, 3800.
Like, who
or all the turbo cars, you get so much noise. Like, the bang for your buck.
Doesn't like turbo noise.
Yeah.
Like,
supercharged wine? Like, you don't even know it's supercharged when it's stock.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much engineering goes into those stock intake boxes to have no noise.
Yeah, it has like a resonating chamber that, like,
or even like the Gen Tune with a muffler on the turbo outlet.
Yeah.
Like, what? We don't need that.
The Regals as well. Yeah, we would be lying to you if we told you that every cold air intake we make is a benefit over stock.
Yeah.
Like, it's not true, but like, I'm not gonna say for the Regal because I haven't A/B tested our brand new Regal intake. That's coming, but like, our Regal intake is it's my favorite mod I've done on the car because of all the noise. Like, I have turbo whistle now when I accelerate. I have, you know, bypass blow off noise when I let off. Like, it did not do that before.
Yeah.
So it's a very fun mod.
Just yesterday,
and there's no negative noises to it, like you can with a catback.
Yep.
Right.
You can screw up a car real quick if you buy the wrong exhaust for it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a Sonic customer that came up to the front desk yesterday. He goes, I got a Sonic. I want to hear the turbo. What do you guys sell to give me the whoosh whoosh and the spool? And I'm like, buy a cold air intake. Let me know what you think.
$300, it's going to be one of your favorite mods.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pop it on in an afternoon, with
it's
some
a
hand
15
tools.
to 20 minute install if you if you can turn a wrench.
Yeah.
And then he's like, do I have to tune the car? I'm like, no.
Just leave the insert in.
I'd say probably the longest install time one is an LSJ because you got to take the bumper off. And
LSJ or like ATSV can be cumbersome to install.
Yeah, getting onto the turbo is a little bit of a chore.
Well, yeah, because they're so far down there. But, but yeah,
the 3800 has a PCM in the stock airbox. Unhooking all that's a little bit.
And like a 97 and 98 has that crazy turn in the intake tube that
it's like
is super
290s.
restrictive.
It's out 90, in 90.
Yeah.
Weird.
Oh, really? Those were different from the 99 Plus?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The 99 Plus airbox actually flows fine.
Yeah. It's when they actually had like
quiet.
that little what's
corrugated?
What's the hose? It looks like a
accordion.
Yeah, the accordion hose. That they came out with that just like straight fluid accordion hose style intake instead of the sharp 90 deal. Okay. Moved the filter from being the air filter was actually like running parallel with the frame rails, if you would, and then they moved it sideways to just bring air in from the headlight instead of the fender well.
And on all our cold air intakes, you don't have to do air filter replacement anymore. You still want to maintenance them, but they're all oiled filters, so you just wash them off and re-oil them, and you're good to go.
Or you spend the extra $19 and get the pre-filter, which is a lifesaver.
The pre-filter is the jam. I have one of those on the Encore, just in case.
It's for me. It keeps all the water out because you do happen to get that from time to time. It keeps all the dust off, and that pre-filter is so easy to wash or replace compared to the filter.
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Preston said, "Good mod for non-performance daily drivers is in
Preston.
500s." When they were cheap, they were great. They're not cheap anymore.
Oh man, that tire oh my god.
We'll get to tires.
We'll get to tires later.
But I would say, another one, and again, I'm thinking on Erica's car. What can I change to make things better, but not change the driving dynamics overall? Like, you don't want vibrating mounts and all that.
Yeah.
But like, on a 1.4, a V3 for a daily driver car?
Yeah.
Great mod.
Yep.
Tune Flex V3.
Yeah.
If you tuned into the podcast, we like the Z04.
We do.
But we had a customer drive down from Canada this week, and he brought down a V3 car, full mod V3 car, which honestly we don't see anymore. Because the Z04 is mainly.
Yeah.
And I'm driving it around, and I'm like,
they're punchy.
This feels pretty good. And it made like almost 220 wheel.
Mm-hmm.
But he had snow tires, 18-inch wheels through an auto.
Canadian fuel.
Yeah, I shout out to Fred. He drove down here with gallons of his own fuel so we could tune it on that.
I like that guy.
Yeah, especially from Canada because you never know what you're going to get. Might be maple syrup, might be...
Some of it is truly maple syrup.
Yeah, it's bad.
So it wasn't our 93 next door that we're spoiled with. He got a car here on his 91, made good power. We had updated some other stuff. But yeah, I haven't been a V3 car in a while. I would love to compare your Encore versus your Encore.
Yeah.
But punchy is a good word.
Punchy. The V3 or 3.1 is a punchy little.
Because you can't. There's from a standstill. There's no difference versus a stock turbo.
Yeah.
No.
If anything, a little better.
Yeah, so, and that's what he said. He's like, driving it a lot, stoplight to stoplight. I wanted it right there. He's like, I'm not doing any big highway pulls. I'm like, kudos, brother.
Yeah,
good car.
And like, you compare that to not necessarily as much on an LNF, but in an LSJ. You put a big old turbo on that, you're going to notice the difference. Yeah. It's going to change your daily life with the car, and you got to drive around it differently. But like a V3 that's probably the closest to what I would call a daily
what's
turbo.
cool is that he's up 100 wheel over stock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, that's nothing to scoff at either.
Yeah.
That's wild to think about. On a 1.4, 100 wheel is
on a 1.4.
Yeah. 220, 240,
that
whatever it might be.
Canadian guy was over 100 wheel horsepower higher than stock with our small turbo.
Yeah, with our small one.
Which makes me feel a little greedy because like Tim and I are talking about like, well, 300's good, but like, what about like 400? If you take that out of context, you're like, I might be stretching the limits of the car a little bit. But that's a good car. V3, like for me, my biggest mod for 1.4, if you're going to do a V3 or a Z04 or stock turbo, whatever. Intercooler.
Yeah.
Our intercooler keeps the car happy.
Well, that's
longer.
across the board.
Across the board.
For
Every
really.
single GM car has a poorly designed intercooler.
So to what Tyler said, what can I do to improve the dynamics of the vehicle without hindering drivability for Erica? Intercooler is up on the list.
And for anybody who's watching with the LUJ or LUV and their Encore, our Sonic kit just kind of goes on.
Yeah.
That wasn't, like, the mounts a little different, but I just, like, metal zip tied mine to where the stock mounts are.
And it makes underhood look that much better.
Yep. Yep.
Like, there's absolutely zero decrease.
And at least in my case, with our intercooler kit, the hard charge pipes and everything, I don't have to take my upper charge pipe off to change my oil anymore.
Oh.
Mine's like rotated just enough to where I can. pull it right up.
Nice.
Very
Well, I
nice.
mean, even on the LNF, like that's a good
Oh,
intercooler.
huge. And
Especially-
reliability too, because you get rid of the plastic.
Yeah, especially on all these draw-through cars. Your HHR left
Mhm.
Erica stranded before
Yep.
because
Mhm.
she pulled into a parking lot, broke the intercooler to draw through map. Car freaks out, doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what to do.
Yep.
You're on the phone. Everybody's stressed. You had a ZZP intercooler in there, it'd be good.
And I showed up and I pulled the map and it ran perfect. And she was like, "How did you know that?"
Wait a minute.
Well,
I didn't even look under the car. I just pulled the
Pull
map.
them out.
out.
Yep.
Yeah. I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Professional idiot. All right.
She's like, I don't know what happened. I just parked it, and it just never ran again.
That Erica would never.
No, it was a serious manhole. She like pulled up a driveway,
Mhm.
and because of the angle, the manhole had to be. It was like a drain like this big,
Yeah.
but because of the angle, the one end was fine,
Not the
and then the other end was not. So
Was
she came up and
Yeah.
cracked it right open. But yeah, intercooler for sure. 1.4 ported intake manifold.
Oh,
Yeah, Tim, talk about what we saw this
Yeah.
week.
Basically, what happened, we had a customer come in, full bolt-ons, everything but one part. I put it on the dyno, I make a pull, it makes like 220 something wheel horsepower, and I'm like,
No way.
Bo and guys, we're just talking like, why is this car not making the power it should? And we're just like, just talking and just kind of going through his mod list, and all of a sudden we just realized he didn't have our ported intake manifold yet. And we're like, oh, we just missed this one mod. We just didn't suggest this one mod. And we put that on, and it gained over 35 wheel horsepower.
It's on the better side of 40 wheel horsepower from a ported intake.
on a 1.4.
Auto 1.4. So
Like because as soon as it was brought up, I was like, I remember when I originally did the first ported intake, we gained like 5 or 6 wheel horsepower on the stock turbo.
on the stock turbo, yeah.
So now we've got this customer in here with our cams and valve springs and Z04, full exhaust, intercooler, colder intake, flex fuel, everything, and he's running E85.
Yep.
It makes sense that 5 horsepower ended up being 35 plus
Yeah.
in his car because,
It's a percentage gain.
yeah, it's every mod is not a horsepower. Like, I don't know, like this only applies to the old people in this group, like myself. But like you go to Jegs and you're like, oh, this flex fan is going to give me 10 and this is going to give me all these
Not a
numbers.
math equation.
Yeah, like just like 5 plus 5 plus 5 ends up being this much number. But like that's not what it is. Everything is a percentage, and there's always like the smallest choke point is the one that screws you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in this guy's case, it was a ported intake.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is
well,
like-
shouts to Zoom for calling that out because
Yeah.
we are thinking all emotionally. We're like, man, this car doesn't work. What are we gonna do? We're changing this. We're changing that. We're trying to figure it out. Zoom's like, engine has a flow restriction, and we're like, what could that be? Oh,
Maybe
ported
the
in-
giant walls
Oh,
in front of the
it's because
intake ports.
half of the intake port is blocked off. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but with the 1.4, the factory intake manifold literally has a Berlin wall in it.
Yeah, it does.
So you can't fit your fingers in the port
It's
without removing this
It's
wall.
a round port intake, as you would suspect.
Rectangular, but yeah.
Sorry, I'm saying round, holding a rectangle. And halfway across is a wall.
Yeah.
Do we know why they did that noise?
It's for an air tumble thing.
It's definitely for tumble.
tumble for emissions and efficiency.
Mhm.
But
So there's just it turns it into a D-shaped runner, and it's very small.
yeah, it's very small. And when you're trying to pound 23 PSI down its
23
throat.
pounds.
That hits that wall and it.
You don't worry,
It doesn't like
we
it.
tore that wall down and made some more power.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
removed
did.
the intake and
Quick
poured it
little
out real
report.
quick, threw it back on.
We got Ronald Reagan up there.
Tear this wall down. Good car.
So another mod on the list of daily stuff from 1.4. This is not a 1.4 episode, but man, we love them.
Yeah.
Ported intake manifold.
Yeah.
A lot
It
of
has to
gains,
be.
no
It has to
downsides.
I really appreciate that engine because for a minute, like ZZP had it pretty easy.
Mhm.
GM came out with this 3800 and they just slapped a bunch of stupid parts on it
Yeah.
that made a lot of problems.
Yeah, very
I'm going to
restrictive
name off
stuff.
the number one, like the supercharger coupler. They came out with this supercharger coupler that was an inferior material. And then like we're like, oh, what cool oil impregnated materials that'll last a long time can we make this out of?
Mhm.
So we came up with the green stuff and we make this coupler and everybody's like, I want this. And I don't know, it's like darn near our number one selling product
Yeah.
of all time.
It's
Like it's
like
amazing.
one or two.
Yeah.
So it's like we benefit from GM putting in these inferior parts.
Yeah.
Like that stupid wall in that intake manifold. And every platform has something
like that.
every
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I'm glad that we don't work on BMWs because BMWs don't make those stupid mistakes like GM does. So GM makes these dumb, weird decisions, and then we get to come in here and be like, "Oh, we fixed it."
Yep.
And then, like, all of us get to benefit from this.
Or like the U-bend in the
Yeah, the
3800
U-bend.
downpipe.
Yeah.
Just to fit an O2 sensor.
Just to fit.
We don't even talk about the U-bend anymore. Like,
Yeah.
that was a big deal. We need
huge.
more pictures of that
Yeah.
so people can see how
Why move
stupid.
oxygen sensor when I can make this really big?
Well,
pipe?
or you can
So-
just mount the oxygen sensor on the side instead of on the top.
So you 3800 guys that you might not know about it, like that is one of the most important mods of the entire car. If you still have a U-bend on the car, just put a freaking downpipe
I was
on
about
it.
to say they probably don't
But, like-
have it anymore because every 3800 on the planet has a every
Yeah.
W body has a ZZP downpipe.
Yeah, they have to.
But yeah, they just put this O2 sensor here, and they're like, "Oh, we got to make a U-bend go over." And
They built the exhaust around the oxygen sensor
Yes!
in the tunnel. It was so weird.
if you think about the cost,
Yep.
think about the cost of doing that.
Not
That
one.
cost them hundreds. That cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars
Not one guy
to
just
add that
went,
U-bend in there.
Well, boss, why don't we just put it in the side? So I was like, no, it needs to be in the top.
It was.
I mean, maybe so moisture didn't get on it, you know? I mean, there's
They could have.
But it's even harder to service.
Oh,
Being up there.
a...
I don't know.
Please, anybody that doesn't know what a U-bend is on a 3800, search 3800 U-bend
Just
in
Google
Google,
images, it'll come
and
up.
and it'll blow you away.
Yep. Oh,
Hmm.
all right. So we've covered power pretty solidly across the board. Next, we should go to handling.
My favorite
Now
part.
this
My favorite
this
part
is
on a daily,
something-
too.
also that can make or break your car. If you do it wrong, you can have a car that's riding around like a pogo
Randy,
stick.
hold me back.
Um,
Hold me back, Randy. You know what I'm gonna say.
Well, Tim, don't listen to Tim because he'll ruin the ride quality real quick.
You gotta know what you want to do with the car.
Yeah. It's
You
gonna. The
can
car's gonna have a
leave-
purpose. Yeah,
You can leave stock shocks and struts on it.
you can.
You can.
Dude, so I'm growing up and I hate it because I've been wrenching my butt off the last month to get Sarah's GXP riding better, and you know, because it's got high miles on it, so I'm doing the controllers and I'm doing all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then I drive Tom's Monty today, and he's got he's got an AGX strut on it with a
Oh,
stock
nice.
spring, and I'm like, oh, like this
Ooh.
car. This
This
car
is
drives
nice.
good, but I'm like, it sits too high.
Yeah.
I gotta have it low.
I know.
And like, it's not that our lowering spring combo doesn't ride good or our coilovers don't ride good, but it's
just
not
not
stock.
Yeah.
All right. So
And then I blast into the bell tire driveway, just boop, and I'm like, huh, that was easy.
Oh, weird.
I'm like, why is everything so easy?
all right, that's not the direction I was gonna go. I was gonna go
Tim's full catalog.
with frickin' tires, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh my goodness, like you people that want to make 500 plus horsepower on your 7-year-old all-season tires.
Tim's favorite thing is to sit in his office and watch ATSVs get dropped off. Be like, put a tire on it.
Yes,
Show up with some ling longs or whatever, and Tim's like, no.
Every time.
I can't tune it. I can't tune that.
Bo will take on an ATSV. That's actually the prime example.
Yeah.
Like, he'll take on an ATSV, and this car will be stock. Like, they're literally our stock ATSVs still out there. And he'll take on this ATSV, and it'll be the full package. Cold intake, downpipes,
We add
flex
250
fuel,
wheel.
fuel pump, cam, or fuel pump lobe. Like, all these things. And then it'll be on, like, the original Michelins, because these ATSV guys don't drive them, myself included. Mine only has 27,000 miles. I'm guilty. But, like, and I'm like, Bo, like, are you gonna sell them tires, or do you just want me to, like, ditch dodge? Like,
What do you want?
Rob.
So on that, with any car, whether it's your daily, just get 2 dedicated sets of tires.
Yep.
If you live up north,
Yeah.
winter
Winters,
set,
snows.
summers.
Winters, snows.
Winters,
Winter. Yeah,
Yeah.
same time.
Yep.
I mean,
But yeah.
if you guys are like, I've got to put 30,000 plus miles on my tires, but I want my car to perform well, then put a set of Michelin 4S's on it.
Pilot
Get some
Sports.
PS4
That's like-
S's.
That's like a pretty good most year-round tire that you can
Oh
run.
yeah, absolutely.
Is it going to keep your 580 to 620 wheel horsepower ATSV out of the ditch? No.
Yeah, probably not.
But like for most cars,
Yep.
it's a pretty darn good
Yeah.
tire that you can drive nearly year round.
Yeah.
Even like a Michelin Performance all season is a decent tire if you're like, I am not changing my wheels for winter.
Mhm.
But like,
Well, it's okay to swap tires on wheels too. I
Yeah,
do
that's-
that a
Yeah.
lot. Like I got 1 set of wheels, but 2 sets of tires. They get changed.
Yeah,
like
that's
on
fine.
the HHR, they get changed.
Just like your nice performance or your summer tires, just like keep them in your house, keep
And
them bagged. like,
Tires
keep
last
them in-
twice as long.
in the
Yes,
basement.
that's true.
like, and please hear me out, guys. Whoever has not owned snow tires, if you have a front wheel drive car, I'm just picking that, a front wheel drive car, rear wheel drive car, whatever car, and you put snow tires on it, it will accelerate from a traffic light better than a truck with an all season.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, snow tires are a must if there's snow on the ground.
Or
Brakes.
alternate.
Brakes,
Oh.
sway bars,
Yeah, brakes and sway
Brakes
bars.
are overrated.
and bushings.
Well,
generically,
Yeah,
Like maintenance bushings. That's
that's
a big
huge.
thing.
Whether if it's an arm we sell or just a
control
cap,
arm bushing.
or
Yeah.
maybe a whole control arm, like
Yeah.
Man,
You know, I like the control arm bushing.
sway bar end links and the sway
Like-
bars.
Another rant, I apologize, but having tight suspension joints
yeah.
Yeah.
is
Even if
crucial.
they're factory, not
Yeah,
upgraded.
Factory
just
is fine.
fresh.
Yep, just fresh is good.
Bo has put 2 sets of new control arms on my Sonic already.
Mhm.
A control arm in a Sonic is a wear item. You can,
Yeah.
if you drive the car hard, you're going to have to replace them every potential year.
Well,
Like,
and it's so
Some cars are that way.
there was a guy who posted on Cobalt SS community the other day. He went to the dyno. I think it was in his 54 or 57 Z series turbo car. So he had full bolt-ons, everything.
Yep.
Wheels, tires, suspension. And he does the dyno pull, and when the guy lets off, the tire goes like this.
Yep.
And everyone in the comments was like,
Brother.
"Brother, your control arm bushings." And he goes, "You think so?"
No, I don't think so. That is absolutely what's wrong.
Yeah, 100%. And they're what do we sell our solid control arm bushing for? $8.99, $9.99, like
It's
$10.
Rolling.
Or the whole control arms for
Yeah.
$200.
$130 for an LSJ. Like, yeah, take that time and
You got to think about it. When you accelerate, the tires are trying to pull forward. So what are they doing? They're towing in. So they're trying to tow in when you're accelerating, and that's
taking
just
everything with it.
scrubbing power. You're just adding parasitic losses to the car. And then when you brake, what are they doing? They're pulling back. So
Yeah.
what are they doing? They're towing out.
Yeah.
Like if you have tight, like all the connections are nice and tight, those tires will stay straight. It won't torque steer all over.
Yep.
you will
Ride
add
quality
so
is better.
much stability
You won't
to the
run
vehicle.
through tires.
Well,
The car won't
on
be
the-
unpredictable.
On the whole, get new tires, get new control arms, all that stuff. I've been super uptight on my alignments. Like the Regals had 3 alignments this year. And every time I go in, it needs adjusted. And nothing's loose. Maybe I need to look further, but things move.
Yeah.
Especially how hard I'm driving the car. And I've noticed this a lot on all my W body fleet is I'm constantly bolt checking them more and checking the alignments more because I get frustrated. I'm like, guys, I'm going through tires. You know, I drive a lot. Sarah drives a lot. We drive a lot, and I'm like, I need to stay up on my alignments. I need to stay up on my suspension maintenance. I need to stay up on my bolt checks, and it's starting to prove itself a little bit. But every time I go to check this stuff, it needs checked for sure.
Yeah.
So just because you put new coilovers and control arms on the car 2 seasons ago doesn't mean they don't need checked this season, especially if you're putting thousands of miles on it.
Yeah, and on say a Delta chassis car, it's really easy. Just have your buddy sit in the car and go like this with the clutch in first gear, and if the car moves but the wheels don't, you need control arm bushings.
Yep. Yeah.
But you had mentioned it already. Something that won't actually change, like it's not going to, really change how the ride down the road is a rear sway bar.
Yes.
A bigger rear sway bar makes a huge difference when you actually do throw it into a corner.
Yeah, and when you do it on a front wheel drive car, it makes the car so predictable. You would 100% rather have oversteer than understeer.
Oh yeah.
But I think, and I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the dealerships engineer the car with understeer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think it's safer than engineering a car with oversteer.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
For
like
your normal everyday.
like when a car comes from the factory, my ATS-V understeer, my Sonic understeer, like when they were stock, like a rear sway bar is one of my favorite mods for pretty much every platform I've ever had. Like your a video, I don't know if how many of you people have not seen Tyler's video of the rear sway bar. Yeah. Really neat video on the rear sway bar.
First one I did on the blue, I think on the blue car. Yeah. And we had it undercar shot of the rear torsion beam on the
We need to
Cobalt.
do that with the Regal.
And to see the difference from before and after was crazy.
Yes. Really cool.
It's an old video.
It's
so that video's got to be 5 years old.
I swear on a W body, that sucker just tracks straighter, stays in a lane better. Like it doesn't wander around the road as much. Because like in a W body that's real boaty, you'll get going down the road on the highway, and you're just kind of like doing one of these, and like all of a sudden you put that rear sway bar on, and it's just a lot more planted and centered, and it's going forward. Tracking straighter, if you would. It's a good mod.
Have you looked?
Underrated mod.
Can we do the rear sway bar on the Encores? Or
No.
are there no holes in the
So not
beam?
on the all-wheel drive models. I don't think.
Well, I got a front-wheel
You have
drive
a
one.
front-wheel drive model, might be different. But when I looked at mine,
I think I know who Rocco is. Rocco, I emailed you guys back today, but we've been pushing off your install for going on 2 years now. So it's been a process of holding parts, restocking parts, bringing parts back out to commit to your sale order. So I was doing a lot of stuff in the background for you guys, and I just sent you 2 sale orders with fully committed parts today and some install dates we can look at. Wasn't a lack for I didn't want to get back to you. It's the flakiness on your end and not being consistent and showing up for an install date that makes it hard for me to communicate quickly.
Which, as like a company that does service, we have that. We have flakiness, but we also have people that just show up.
That's been the new trend.
Which is weird. I drove from 3 states just to drop this off. Oh, were you on the schedule? I was not. Yeah, we have schedules for that.
I'm here to pick up. Oh, did Bo say it was ready?
I felt it in my heart of hearts.
Thankfully, we've been on it,
Yeah,
and every time I'm like, "Yeah, it's ready." I literally just got out of it 10 minutes ago.
Cool. Good. Anyway.
But brake mods.
Oh. See, I'm a sucker for brakes in general. Everything that I own, minus Katie's new tracks, has big brakes on it. Which will have big brakes on it like in a couple months. So like I'm a big Brembo guy. I like my big monoblock calipers, mostly for ease of changing pads.
Very
so like
easy.
that, it takes 15 minutes to change pads on a
knock 2 pins out.
Yeah. It's real simple, real easy. Tim, on the other hand,
I just love stock rotors with fancy pads. Good to go.
And honestly, as long as you get a good pad
Yeah.
and a good rotor, not, like, take some time and either email us. Like, somebody here loves talking about brakes at all times. But
we just can't stop.
Yeah.
Randy,
Sorry.
he started. He's not going to stop.
Ryan Derrick, get this guy.
But, like, figure out what you're going to do with the car. And don't go to AutoZone and get the silver pads and think that your car is going to brake well. Like,
no, like the silver and gray box, or the silver and black box, you want to stay away from.
yeah.
That's like, it's going to be dusty. It's going to be noisy. It's not going to last as long.
The dust sucks.
It's all bad things.
Yeah. And you can, it'll totally change a car.
Yeah.
Driving down the road.
Absolutely.
Like, if you got to put 90% pedal in it just to get it to start to stop, it's not good.
Not being able to stop is very scary.
Very scary.
Yeah.
My sister keeps hitting deer in her cruise, and I'm like, you have a good brake kit I just put on.
Just
Please
use
smash them. Like, the car will stop fast. That's one thing I don't.
She's got to look for him first,
That too. I was like, look up from your phone.
Yeah.
No,
Especially in Lake Odessa.
I don't think a lot of people understand how fast their car can actually stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because almost no one
Stops
slams on their
aggressively.
brakes.
Yeah, like
That kind of applies to the gas pedal, too. Coming from a remote tuning guy.
Oh yeah, I floored the car today.
Wrong episode. Yeah. So, and also, like Tyler touched on for a second, if the car is doing a thing, if you're autocrossing, it's okay to have a set of autocross pads that you just use for that. Swap them out. Back to street pads, because then you don't get the squealing cat, Hawk HPS noises, or G-Lock greens, whatever. You don't get those noises, and your daily driver can do autocross things. Swapping pads is not hard. I 100% think you can do it.
especially if you're running any of our big boy brake kits.
Yeah. That's why I said the doing 2 pins. It's
Well,
maybe
even a regular
15, 20
caliper
minutes.
is 2 bolts.
Yeah.
And then you got to take your C clamp and put the piston back in. But
Man,
But still.
I don't know. I mean, we don't sell them, but EBC yellows. What a great
Ceramic
racy mix pad that doesn't squeal
They're
and
dirty
works.
though, aren't they?
Oh no, they're ceramics. They're not very dusty.
No.
Yeah, the
I'll have
yellows
to
are
give them a try.
Green stuff, they can get a little dusty.
I mean, you see my wheels at tail; they get dirty.
Bro, your wheels.
But-
if that's what it does to my wheels,
You know
don't
how
need
I
those
drive.
now.
You know how I drive, and they're stock brakes.
You're the only person with chrome wheels that looks like charcoal wheels. Like
At Tail of the Dragon, that is true.
Here's the thing, though. I've seen the way you drive, and you don't use brakes. So how
No, I
how does that work?
So it doesn't use
It's like
brakes and dusty.
I would like you need these pads, but I don't use brakes, so I don't know.
I can't say EBC yellows are dustless, but I can say that they work. The Sonic definitely does what it needs to do, and it's very quiet.
It is very quiet.
It's very quiet.
That's good. The G-Locks are not quiet.
No,
The G-Locks are not
They
quiet.
are not quiet.
No.
Unfortunately, I have a set of G-Locks from the Encore.
I know. I got them on the
it's
front
rough.
of
It's,
Rough.
it's
You
very,
gotta
very,
wipe them
very
down
squeaky. It's
daily.
just what I had in the garage. Give me a break.
yeah, I think that's what Preston has on the front of his Sky that used to be my Sky.
It's a lot of noise. But while we're on brakes, we have brand new ZZP calipers.
Yep.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's the big thing about daily across all the platforms is if you need to do a brake job, we got a lot of nice entry level brake kits that are gonna get you a good bang for the buck. And instead of buying OEM stuff, that it is a comparable cost, you might as well get something upgraded and bolted on.
And we are one of, if not the only company that carries the rings for the 15.3 kit.
Yeah, 15.3 and then the ATSVs.
We do got a lot of brake options.
Yeah,
we got a lot of
dude,
brake options.
we've been
Yeah, what
hard.
I like about big brake kits is that you can have very aggressive stopping without having to push the pedal very hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like my Sonic. Yeah, I ran around with the stock size rotors for 3 years and raced the crap out of the car, and it was fine. But I'm not afraid to push the brake pedal as hard as I need to. But when you put a fancy front and rear brake kit on your car, you don't have to push the brake pedal that hard to
tap.
stop the car.
Yeah, it's the input. It's not nearly as much.
Yeah.
So
I
good
think
upgrade.
I think that Brembo kit we sell for the W body is great. It's also great on the Sonic.
And not even just the front kits.
Yeah.
GM shortcomings again. On the W bodies, we have a couple different rear brake upgrade kits.
If you
And
wanted to
then
pair the
Sonic.
the Brembo with the rear GXP, it's good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And you don't have to look at those silly drums in the back anymore.
Yeah.
Not on a W body. Those didn't.
Yeah.
Did any of those come with drums?
No, thank you.
Man, W bodies, man. The factory brakes are so terrible.
They're so tiny.
They're
have
so
the
single.
iron.
You have a almost 4,000 pound car with a single piston 10-inch rotor.
An
That's a
iron
Sonic.
caliper.
It's a Sonic.
Yep.
Single piston iron caliper. Like, oh my gosh,
So when
man.
I run into it all the time on like in-person tune, that I'm out just running my laps, getting fuel trimmed at on the car, and I realize I'm driving through the brakes. Like I'm like, oh, this is what stock.
It's like.
This is what stock brakes are.
Yep.
Because I'm just on a 15-minute drive, aggressively driving the car around, getting a scan, and it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, a
Hot.
little fade, a little hotness. All right, we better get back to
Am
the
I
shop.
betting these in?
Let these cool. And car runs great, tuned up great. You should look at a brake upgrade.
So next up, we've covered power, we've covered suspension, covered brakes, cosmetics and interior
Oh,
mods.
I love interior.
Oh
mods.
man,
It's a tough topic to talk
Yes.
about because we don't really sell a lot of interior stuff outside of gauge pillar pods and stuff like
Well,
that.
gauge pillar pods are a good start for creating that
Like-
cockpit feel.
Yeah, gauge pillar pods and a gauge like an Aeroforce that tells you
Oh
what is
my
happening.
gosh! When you can go down the
Man.
road and
Yeah.
read a code,
Yeah.
your life,
Man.
like when
It
I'm
changes
in a
completely.
car without an interceptor and an engine light comes on, I'm like
Like
What do?
every modified car owner that's in here right now watching has had that moment where you're getting on the highway or getting on the highway for like a long trip with the wife or the friends or whatever, and you're putting along and the check engine light comes on and you're like, now that's in my brain the rest of this trip.
You know
what is happening with an Aeroforce?
You just
Press
go,
these two buttons,
boop, boop, boop.
go down, read the code.
Oh.
Oh, it's an 1101.
It's nothing.
Delete.
it's an EMAP code.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's just the peace of mind for $200
Dude,
or whatever
yeah.
the Aeroforce gauges are.
Driving a mod car, the amount of times that I've been driving down the road and just cleared a code without the passengers even knowing, and been like, "All right, we're cool."
Yeah.
Like,
It's worth. It's the ease of mind, and for like somebody like me who remote starts any chance I can get, you don't have a check engine light, and then you can remote start your car.
Yeah.
You have a check engine light, no remote start. What's the point?
Yep.
So
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to have to go to AutoZone, have them pull a code.
yeah, they have to look at you like you're an idiot for coming into
Yeah.
AutoZone, and you're like, no, I.
And they won't
could've
even
just
clear
done
them
this.
anymore.
Yeah, they won't.
They
clear
only
the
read.
codes.
They won't clear your code.
Yep.
Oh, really?
No more clearing codes.
But on the pillar pod thing, we obviously have 2 and 3 gauge pods for most of our platforms. But if you don't really want the full kind of boy racer, really cockpitty look, we're starting to come out with single pods.
Yep.
So-
And just a guy the other day, he goes, "Man, I don't want to. Do you got one?" And I was like,
Oh no.
"Not right now, but we
But
will.
we will.
We will." So yeah,
But like the one in the ATS or your CTS, just that single pod right next to the dash.
Oh yeah. For the people listening, I have a CTS now.
Oh yeah.
and it runs and drives.
It runs and drives.
And
Talk about dailies.
it's a CTSV too.
It's not. I'm way too poor for that. It's a V Sport, but it's basically a fat ATS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Have you ever seen our HUD dual pod for the Grand Prix?
Ooh,
Heads
no.
up display.
I know the product, but I've never seen it in a car.
It's actually really nice.
Is it?
It puts it way up in the corner down by the windshield, and you got your heads up display, and then right to the left is 2 gauges.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like
I-
that.
It's
I
a
used to-
very underrated.
I used to make fun of like my friends and stuff for putting gauges in their car and stuff. To be fair, we were all driving like NA cars, like
Yeah,
why did
somebody
you
had
need
an
it?
oil pressure gauge.
like oil pressure gauge or a voltmeter or something like that.
meter.
Like I used to make fun of people, but now like you get in my Sonic and it's like a freaking
Spaceship.
aircraft. You're like, oh, let me just do all my pre-flight checks, do my beep beep, the horn works. Do the old, do my pre-flight checks real quick. But I used
Gotta
to
have the horn working.
I used to make fun of people for it, but now I can see all the data, and I'm a data-driven person, so
yeah. I would imagine somebody is going to ask the question at some point. Like, the question is always like, what gauges do I need? My personal preference is 1 or 2 Aeroforces.
Yep.
And a wideband.
An OEM or an AEM OBD2 wideband if your vehicle supports it.
Yeah, if you have a CTS like mine, it will hate everything if you plug that in.
I think yours we'll figure that out. Like, there's some CAN bus load issues. We'll figure out like what's dragging that down.
The dual Aeroforces and a wideband is so crispy on any platform, man.
Man, and your tuner will love you if you have the OBD2 wideband and your vehicle supports it.
That you can log with that's a big deal.
So Sonic guys, ATS guys, basically anything LTG.
So what do you like to watch on your Aeroforces?
I always have fuel pressure, ethanol percentage, boost, because no torque-based ECM cars have boost usually, and then just some other floater timing or something like that.
I really like to watch the timing more and more, especially learning more about tuning. It's nice to know where the timing's at.
Yeah.
I'm really big on, well, at least my older platforms, trans temp.
I keep trans temp up on the Encore all the time just because I'm always like,
like an LSJ, KR, and IAT2.
Yeah.
Because
the nice thing is, I like to have KR up there, but once you have a good tune, you can kind of get away from it.
That's true.
Yep. I only really look at KR if we're on a long road trip, like say here to Virginia in the Buick,
and you're
or something.
going up and down mountains.
Yeah, that type of thing. And I look at my ethanol percentage because that kind of gauges like, I filled up at Loaf and Jug in the middle of nowhere because that was what was available. Like when we were in the UP a couple weeks ago, I had to put like rec fuel effectively in the Buick, and I was like, let's see what. Oh no, it's like 3% alcohol, and I was like, well, no full throttle right now.
You people with Aeroforces, what's cool is with the KR thing. Like I never have KR on mine ever because I use the enunciator. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that word correctly.
Enunciator?
The enunciator on it is like a thing that you can program, so you can set it to KR and you can set to like over X degrees, and anytime you have over X degrees of KR, it'll flash lights at you.
So you don't have to keep an eagle's eye on it to be like, 1 degree.
That's actually really nice. Kind of complicated to set up though, right?
Not bad.
It's not bad. It takes time, but you just got to run through the menu.
Yeah, I mean, once you realize that the left button does this and the right button does that, as soon as you know that in your head, like you can buzz right through the menu super easy.
What other enunciator stuff can you?
Really anything. You can set a minimum and maximum.
How cool would it be to have a fuel pressure enunciator?
Well, that's a tough one because you kind of have to have an A and a B for that because you need it to be like when you're at light throttle, it's going to be on all the time.
Fair.
If you have a new model car, like the stuff that I'm primarily
tuning, fuel pressure stuff.
Yep.
But you could put it on boost. Like let's say
too much boost.
Yeah, too much boost. Yep. It'll flash at you.
Or IAT2s. If you're in an LSJ,
it kind of works for maximums better.
Yeah. Yes. It's more of like a set limit versus like a minimum thing.
Right.
But
MATs, IAT2s.
And also, I mean, this isn't an Aeroforce commercial or anything, but like if you have 2 Aeroforces, be like, that's 4 gauges. That's enough. You can make it 8 if you really want.
You can make it 8.
You can go through the cyclic menu and set
it isn't an Aeroforce commercial, but
there's a reason why they've been those stupid things.
There's a reason why they've been the leading gauge around.
It's so simple, and yes, they need to update it, but why when it's like such a it works so darn good.
Yeah.
Like I have 5 vehicles, and every one of them has an Aeroforce or 2 in it.
Yeah.
Like it.
Like, even the Encore has an Aeroforce.
Yeah,
in
it's
it.
kind of
Like,
wild.
It's just nice to have the data.
No, it's funny.
Todd over there needs to sponsor me. Like, I have so many freaking Aeroforces.
Yeah.
Todd,
Yeah,
come on,
even
man.
my 99 Yukon, I'm like, I need to get some Air Forces in this.
Yeah. Anything 96 and up.
I'm like, I'm looking at pillar pods.
Dude, just bring it one day.
And you probably have to wood screw them into the...
No, bring
pillar.
it one day. I'll do a quick scan of something.
We'll print one out.
Print something up. Gosh, be a good time.
I know.
You sit that high, you need pages.
That's true.
Anyhow.
One small thing that it's not applicable to all the platforms. Well, yes and no. And I'm not going down the full click-clack removable steering wheel.
Yeah.
But a good steering wheel, whether
Yeah.
that be replace it with another OEM one that's not all chewed up, or like in the Sonics, you can do the Camaro wheel.
Yeah, you can do like a ZL1 wheel or a Chevy
You know,
SS wheel.
Yeah, there's
Like-
Or an RS wheel if you're not an RS.
RS wheel if you
Yeah,
you
or
don't
if-
have a flat bottom wheel.
That's a good
or
one.
if you're a base model Cobalt dude doing a leather SS
Yeah.
wheel, totally changes.
I mean, if
how
you're
the
a
car
Cobalt,
feels.
a Cobalt owner too, look at like C6 stuff because all the C6 steering wheels.
Yeah.
Same.
Speaking of Cobalt,
Mhm.
like when I bought my base model, that was like one of the things I got in it the first time, and I'm like,
Ugh, it's so gross.
like
the-
I
for
have
the-
been in so many Cobalt SSs,
Uh-huh.
and I get in a base model, I'm like, oh
And
god,
it's just
Well,
this
no, what happened?
why is the steering wheel
weird
so different?
foam, like...
Yeah, and you can if you grab onto it, you can like
yeah, you
almost
Yes.
can move
rotate
it.
it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a good time.
Yeah, Sarah drove the Buick for a couple, 2 weeks in a row while I was working on both her cars, and she's like, "Yeah, I really like the boost and the torque, but the steering wheel is great." I'm like,
Steering
"Yeah,
wheel's
right."
awesome.
It's what you touch all the
Yeah,
time.
Yeah,
it's
and-
the touch points in a car are a big thing.
I
so.
would.
Yeah.
I wish I could quantify the lap time gains I had from having a good steering wheel in the Regal, but it would be something.
Yeah.
Because
It-
that old Regal steering wheel, dude, is so
I mean,
trash.
Steering wheels are so underrated. Like
Steering wheels-
having a nice one.
touch points in general. And while we're on touch points, we just dropped a new M32 shifter spring.
Yeah.
That's a touch point. You don't realize how worn out your spring is on your 100,000 mile Sonic
Mm-hmm.
until you put that new spring in, and you're like, oh shit.
Well, all those little mods, the spring, the shifter end clamps, the base bushings, the
Yep.
shifter itself,
Mhm.
you know, you're only increasing your feel. And
Well, and how many times do
The
you move that a
feedback.
day on the way
Yeah.
to work?
Yeah.
Hundreds of times a week.
yeah.
Like, if you're gonna be in a place, why not better?
Make it better.
place?
Yeah.
Like, if one word do trick, why many words?
No, yeah.
Yeah, crazy for
You give it a
490.
Give it the diddle, and it's just nice and
Yep.
Like
Oh,
I'm envious of you. Like when I had my Grand Prix, like
We
I
didn't
was
have
so
the-
like obsessed with stupid drag racing at the time that like I didn't do anything cool to the car suspension wise.
I don't know if I would
And
say
then, like-
stupid drag.
And then Bo comes in here with this Regal and does coilovers and a rear sway bar, and I'm like, what? Like
What?
this car
it
can
was
turn
literally until
corners?
2020 before ZZP knew a W-Body could turn.
Yes.
we all were like, oh, they're big boats.
He's 100% correct. He took a Regal and made a Regal like win, like podium with a Regal
Yeah.
when turning is involved. What
Can
the
you
hell?
imagine if it was
Like-
2009
dude.
and you show up with a
Oh,
Grand
05?
Prix?
There's not much under the car that wasn't available in 05.
Yeah.
Like,
To like some time attack series in your
Like-
Turbo 3800.
I had my Grand Prix back in the day, ran 1090, and like
it probably would have changed the market forever.
no sway bars, front or rear. Like it
Whoa.
was like I'm like, oh, the car
That
can't
wide
turn,
body.
so I'm just gonna pull the sway bars off and just make it light, right? And I had no idea.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So yeah, I agree.
I
like
remember-
coilovers and a rear sway bar, yes, magical.
The
Yep.
first time people saw the Moose in action was at Berlin Raceway Spectator Drags.
Yep.
And that's how it got the name the Moose, was that night.
Yeah. It looks like a galloping moose.
I never heard this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Moose is out making laps, and they're like, it's
How's it
so
so fast?
awkward, but it's so fast. It looks like a moose running out there. Because you know how like they
flailing
got
legs.
long legs and they're just freaking
Yeah.
pawing.
Yeah, like you think a moose can't
Big old
Yeah.
body on top.
But they
you think a moose can't turn a corner. Yeah, it's gonna turn a corner. It's still gonna get you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That car is
great.
very-
I didn't know that.
It's not an alligator. You can't just run like this and not get hit
You
by
can't
it.
zigzag. He'll get you. He'll get you.
I've never heard that.
As As a Florida man, I can tell you that they teach you that in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Really? You zigzag?
Yeah,
you zigzag.
It doesn't really work. But
Apparently it's supposed to confuse them or something. I don't know.
Well,
Well, they just can't turn.
Of the heads.
Yeah, they have to like turn their heads too much, so they give up.
Yep. It's a Florida thing.
Right.
Understood. Yeah. You ain't running the moose. Yeah.
Now I'm picturing like early ZZP Tim showing up to some track day in his red Grand Prix.
Red Fire Metallic.
Yep.
Yes.
Ready for a track day.
Beautiful.
Did they even have good tires back then?
Yeah, Indy 500s.
Well, they would have also been like, I can only fit a 7.5 inch wide wheel on the car.
Well, that's all that was available.
I am guilty of having 18 by 7.5 wheels on my Grand Prix.
Man.
Even this
But
year,
they were light though.
Even this year, I told Tim what wheels I was on. He's like,
what?
He's like, that's gonna fit.
You're like, I'm gonna make it fit.
Like it, yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Which is funny because, like, if you talk to Tim any day of the week, he's a maximalist when it comes to what exactly can I fit in the back of my HSV.
Yeah.
If it's not a 18 by 12, what's the point?
I blame Ryan Derrick. Ryan Derrick did this to me.
Yeah.
I was completely content and happy with my 18 by 7.5 wide wheels.
That'd be
And
great
then-
for snow.
Hey, I can't.
It was.
I can't lie. Ryan Derrick's the only reason I have as wide wheels as I do on my car too. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Anywho, what we got going on next?
I don't know.
Yeah. So to finish
Closing
up,
thoughts.
Open it up to a Q&A.
Yeah,
Oh,
Q&A.
yeah.
Q&A for show.
Q&A.
For all 3 minutes.
What do you guys got?
I guess first I'd say, what's your favorite mod that you've done on your daily driver to the audience out there? But while we wait for those to come in, we'll go around here. If anybody wants to start.
I'll start.
Yep.
Not to be cliche with the 1.0 PCM tune, because that's obviously it.
Yep.
That's it?
No. I was gonna go the other direction and say the turbo swap kit.
man, turbo.
My favorite thing for a daily driver is a big turbo.
Like I kid you not. If you were like, I have this Grand Prix, it's the last 3 minutes. I can derail.
I have this Grand Prix.
Just
It's only got
instead
330,000
of doing the stage 1 kit and like tinkering around and just kicking at this little 3800, just
Throw a turbo at it.
just boom,
Save the pennies and drop the turbo kit.
just drop it.
What
on
is
there.
everybody doing now? What car is not turbo nowadays? Like every manufacturer has a turbo, small engine turbo.
Yeah.
They figured it out. 20 years ago they didn't know how to make them reliable or
Everything
consistent.
was laggy,
But now they do.
Now you've got 1.2 liters making 170 horsepower.
Well, or the new 2.7s. The new 2.7s making
450 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah,
87
Mercedes
octane for like thousands of RPM.
Mercedes comes out with a 2-liter engine that makes 350 horse stock.
Yeah.
And that's not like in the last couple of years. Like they did that like 5 years ago.
Well, I think you could
turbo.
I think you could make 350 horsepower on a stock 3800
If you had
with a turbo. Like if you just want to neglect everything, put a turbo on it, 60-pound injectors and a 93 or 85, you could make 350 wheel.
100% stock car with turbo, intercooler, and injectors.
Yep.
Will easily make 350 horsepower at the crank.
Yeah. I mean, we just dynoed the Regal on 12 pounds on a stock engine and it made 315. 12 pounds.
Yeah.
At the wheels.
At the wheels.
Yeah.
At the 200.
So Bo said his. What's yours?
Oh man, it's hard to go up against the tune.
Yeah, stealth for you.
Well, yeah, but on the Cobalt, the Stealth.
What about the LTG?
LTG. Intake.
Yeah.
It gives that engine some sort of life.
Yeah. It makes you be like, I got a turbo car.
Yep.
I think if I had to narrow it down to like just one mod for all of our platforms, for me it's fuel. If you just put a tune and E85
Flex.
sensor,
The flex. Yeah.
Flex sensor,
Whatever it takes to get flex on your platform car.
good car.
Yeah.
Like you could put whatever in it.
And it's truly flexible.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's unfortunate some platforms have to do it, but like when you have to like flash the car for your fuel, I'm like
full commit. Yeah.
I get it, but no.
I can't do that. Like you can't full commit to E85 if you want to drive the car at all.
I mean,
I think
the Regal's been off E85 for going on 2 years now because I just get tired of it.
I know. The Cobalt's been on 93 since tail.
It's nice.
And
that's what happened to me. I'm like, I don't want to switch it back.
It's empty now. And to go back to E, I got to take the laptop out there, drive over to the gas station, fill it with E85, wait till it gets through the lines.
You guys are stuck in 1995 if you're over here on this side.
Yeah.
With the flex sensor.
We'll stay over here forever.
We'll
die
I E85 everything. Like everything I can run
I
E
like
in.
E too much to get a car that I have to flash every time.
What's your favorite mod, Tim? Daily.
I'm guy number 4, and I think we're all in agreement that a tune is the best mod.
Yeah.
So since that's already taken, I'm gonna say an intercooler only because I'm like a tuner and I see the scans.
Yeah.
And like the tune adjusts itself based on MATs, manifold air temps, and like the higher those temps are, the less timing you have, the less boost you have. Like I even like build like boost limits by MATs into the files.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm gonna say an intercooler.
It's
so
safe
like
to say that you could bolt an
tune
intercooler on a stock car and have gains, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is an intercooler going to show you gains on a single gear dyno pull? Maybe not. Probably a little bit, but like not a lot. But when do you floor it for one gear only on the street?
Yeah.
Never. It's always like 2 gears or something.
Two, three,
and
four,
your
three, 4,
your manifold air temps are exponential.
Yeah.
Like they just keep going. And an intercooler will like, you'll see your MATs drop.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Based on how much airflow is going through there. Like
you're trying
so
you're trying to
tuning
grab that 4 or
intercooler.
5 shifts in a Sonic, you're gonna need one of those.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Like the 1.4 Sonic is a prime example. Like that is a teeny tiny turbo.
It's like this big.
And the outlet temps are what, like 300 plus degrees?
Yep.
Tyler, you did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You did it on the dyno like
It was like
many years ago.
320 degrees.
And
320 degree outlet
that's
temps.
crazy.
Like, and the thing is, intercoolers work better the bigger the temperature difference is. So you have 320 degrees of temp going into the intercooler, and you have, whatever ambient air flowing through the intercooler. It pulls heat out so quick.
So fast.
Yep.
So tune in intercooler.
And not to get on my E85 horse again, but like also all of our kits come with a nice billet bracket.
Yeah.
Like
And
there's not
and
No
lines.
zip ties required.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
zip ties
Zip ties
required.
required.
It doesn't have to hang off your rail like it looks like you did it on accident. Like it's all planned. Like we plan that stuff here,
Yep.
and you pay a little. What is it? $20 extra.
Comes with a
$30 extra?
QR code and instructions how to pin it to your factory PCM.
Yep.
And it's very easy to install if you just follow the directions. And if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't get through the directions, we have a customer service line. You call them.
Yeah.
They can tell you exactly.
Ryan
what
and T-Span will answer your question. So this is a random thought off of your turbo outlet temp.
Mhm.
So I have a guy I'm remote tuning right now, and he has his MAF in his entry-level charge pipe. So from the turbo to the intercooler, and a half pedal pull, it gets over 257 degrees. Just because you can watch the IAT1 and it goes right up, and that's through. Then after is through the LSJ air to water system, and it's already way better. But imagine that coming out of your little tiny 1.4 turbo that's already winging it to the moon.
Oof.
And yeah, so
Why do you have it in the charge pipe?
he has an external gate and then an external blow off valve.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Say no more. Say no
All
more.
Anyway, we're past 5. We'll
We are.
go around real quick. What are we doing this weekend? Starting with you, Tim.
Man, not much. Going to Disney Wednesday. So,
okay.
gonna do some old people stuff and maybe work on the house a little bit and get packed up for vacation.
Nice.
Oh,
Heck yeah.
bummer. I had a tune scheduled for you on Wednesday. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Me, it is my birthday today.
Happy
So,
birthday.
Yep, I'm 28. Just kidding.
That was me.
that was Bo on Monday.
Yeah.
No, birthday today. We're doing like a hangout with friends and stuff tomorrow.
Yep.
Since I have my CTS, I'm gonna do the car guy thing and like do some detailing this weekend. Maybe
tinkering.
Put my new radio
Tinkering.
in. I don't know.
I like it.
Maybe just look at it.
Yeah, probably just look at it. It does
I'm
make
much overwhelmed.
we can
Lots
sit
to
down and
do.
there's a lot to do on that car. It was a good car 4 years ago, and then it was just neglected for that long before I got it. So
Is that about how long that guy owned it?
I think so, 3 years or 4 years.
It's owned by Randy though, so that thing will be like super freaking nice within like
it'll
a
come
week or
around.
two.
It'll be clean by next summer.
Yeah.
It'll come.
Nah, like within a week it'll be super clean.
But yeah, that's my plans. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. Tonight we're going to Oktoberfest at Riverside Park.
Cool.
Do some beer drinking, and then we're going to Randy's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do some beer drinking, and then Sunday, watch some football.
Recover from the
I
beer.
just like
drinking.
I like drinking beer.
I like drinking beer.
So I just like drinking beer.
What about you, Bo?
More HHR stuff. Been really poking along on the transmission rebuild and block swap. Mostly because I just have no ambition for it. So been just been choosing to dune or been choosing to do anything but work on that thing. So
the old procrastination.
I am literally like 4 bolts away from dropping the drivetrain, hanging the engine, dropping the transmission off at the builder. So got to get all that worked through this weekend and get that on track because it's gonna snow in like 4 weeks, and I gotta have that
You're
ready.
not wrong, but shut your mouth.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but shut up.
Yep.
Yeah. Plus, I got 54 fleet cars to swap snow tires onto.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
Plus my truck.
Plus Big M's truck.
Big M.
No, I got my own wheels.
But
All right.
solid weekend plans.
Well, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Catch us next month for Power Hour number 171. 71. Yeah.
Probably.
Thank you.
Speaking of winterizing, we'll probably be talking about some winterizing.
We're probably going to be talking about
We'll do about some
winterizing next
winterizing.
time.
It's gonna be on the brain for
Yeah.
sure by the end of October.
Oh no!
It's like P0089 season.
It is.
Oh, you're not wrong.
Yep.
Make you all wear costumes.
Public service announcement. You're gonna have to check your plug gap on your
Yeah.
1.4. It's
That too.
loosened up over time.
Yep.
You're gonna have to make sure it's at 20 to 25, or if you're tooted up and zooted up, it's gonna be misfiring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you guys